Are you set, Tim? Hey, welcome. We've got a big crowd tonight. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Sylvania Township Trustees. Today is Tuesday, June 18th, and I'm calling the meeting to order at 5 o'clock.
Roll, Mr. Genline. Here. Mr. Mahoney? Here. Mr. Crandall? Here. Simcoe? Here.
Could you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody here again. We'll move to the approval of the minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the June 4th minutes.
Second. Mr. Genline? Yes. Mr. Mahoney? Yes. Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next is any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Good evening, Trustees, Fiscal Officer, Simcoe, and public. There is one addition for consideration on the agenda, and that would be discussing the upcoming July 2nd meeting and confirming that date or moving it as may be the pleasure of the board. Thank you.
Thanks,
What's the thinking of the, well, there's one other addition to it. I see we have a group here from Greenacre, and we'll cover that. That's item number 12 on our agenda. We go through our business, and then we take up non-business or new items. So that'll be item number 12. I don't think you knew that, Oliver, so add that to 12. Okay, what's the board's thinking on July 2nd? I'm open either way.
Yeah, me too. I'm available.
So you want to do 2 meetings that month, 1 meeting? Give me your, I'm open either way, whatever you two think. You want to just go?
Chance I might not be here on the 16th, which would be the second meeting, so.
Am I looking at that?
We could consolidate and do the 9th.
That's fine with me. Would that work out better for you, Jeff?
I mean, like I said, I'm available on the 2nd, and there's a good chance I'll be available on the 16th, but there's a possibility I'm.
Well, why don't we just do the 9th, unless, we could always have, I don't know that there's anything that demands attention, do you think, Oliver? Could we just do 1 meeting on the 9th?
Administration can certainly work to that goal. There's nothing that I know that would trigger a need for another meeting at this time, but if it does arise, we'll inform the board
We
as soon
could
as
have a
possible.
special meeting and work it out that way. Is that okay with you, Ian?
That's fine. So we
Okay.
just have the 1 meeting
On
that
the
month on
9th.
the 9th, not
On
the
the
16th or the 2nd. Okay.
Okay. Next thing is proclamations. We have 3 proclamations. One is the retirement of our administrator, John Zeiler. He's been with us almost 9 years, and he was with the county 31 years, 40 years of service. He doesn't look that old, does he? Sometimes I feel that. Come on up, John. Appreciate it. I appreciate everything you've done, John. Thank you.
I think you'll be missed, yeah.
Very good. Thank you, John.
Hope we'll still see you around the area though, hopefully. So.
Oh, you missed Simcoe here.
You can leave your cell phone number here too, if we ever need to get hold of you. How's that?
That's your main area. Yeah.
Congratulations, John.
I want to say it's really been an honor and a pleasure to serve the trustees for like 8.5, almost 9 years in that, and I really enjoyed it. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
The next proclamation is for our service manager, Gary Crothers. Gary? Oh, there he is. 25 years of service to the Sylvania Township. We're going to miss you, Gary. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Hey, you got your township shirt.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
Nice work. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I think Rob's got a little, go ahead, Rob.
They didn't read the proclamation, but this is a certificate of appreciation and his 25-year pin, and he has a plaque, I'm sure that's hanging on your wall. I'm sure you're going to hang these two right next to it. grateful appreciation for 25 years of dedication and loyal service to Sylvania Township, your outstanding contributions and efforts in maintaining the Sylvania Township fleet and equipment that contributed significantly to the success and mission of all the departments. So, as a personal friend, I want to thank you so much. Gary helped me a lot. I came on board about 5 years ago. He's been here 25 years already, and he helped me a great deal, and I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much.
All right.
Now, is Gary going to stick around for one snow season or not?
One more note, we're having a little luncheon for Gary on Friday, so everyone's welcome between 11:30 and 1 this Friday.
Can Gary leave his cell phone over here too?
Thank you so much, Gary. Next proclamation is for Deb Cheney. Deb has served as the SCAT director for about 20 years. But she's been active in the community for, I won't tell you how old I am, but Deb's been around.
Come on up, Deb. Deb, come on up.
Wonderful job in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for
I
your support.
appreciate it. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Deb.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
You'll be
I want to
next.
say that
Awesome. We'll see you
I've
though.
been doing this for 20 years, and she started with Sylvania Community Action Team as a part-time employee, as the executive director. She has, over the years, grown it to where she is full-time and has 7 employees now, so, and gotten lots of national and regional and local grants and funding to be able to grow and be able to present and have activities and just different education for the community, so I'm super proud of her and happy to move on. This is Maria, who's actually now, she's going to be taking over as executive director for SCAT. So she's been with us for 2.5 years and moved into this position, so it's going to be a nice transition. And I can say thank you to the township. They are one of the founding fathers of SCAT, along with the city, schools, and the recreation department in 1985, and then supported us in kind and financially throughout the years. So we're cleaning up the budget efforts. So we could not have done it without the township and all the other agencies and entities in our community, because without that, you can't really apply for grants, because they don't know if your community won't invest in you, then why would we? So because of your support, you've made a lot of things possible. So thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you again, Deb. Thank you.
John, do you want to do Greenacre first? Just do you want to do Greenacre first?
No. Next is hearing of the public on agenda items. No one signed up. Does anyone wish to speak on agenda items? Okay, if not, we'll move along. Zoning Department. While Daryl's up here, he's got a resolution, but first he's going to give us his monthly report. If the departments have resolutions, they do the report at the same time. Go ahead, Daryl.
Good evening. The monthly report for zoning for May. Permits were down slightly from last year, down 10.1% in number of permits and 16.7% down in estimated dollar value. We remain up on the year with 2.3% in number of permits and 22.2% in estimated dollar value of the permits. Next page, please. Single-family dwellings, year-to-date, we are at 49. That's just under 31% down from last year. However, the estimated value per dwelling is up just under $300,000. So it's a 15% increase over a year ago. Next page. Zoning complaints are also down from last year. We had 32 for the month, that's almost 40% down, and 82 year-to-date, that is 20% down. And ironically, high grass complaints are actually down this year. Apparently we haven't had enough rain, I don't know. You'd think they'd be through the roof, but for whatever reason they...
You're leaving your office during the day, right? I'm kidding.
We take the phones off them. Next page, please. Zoning Department, monthly meetings. Board of Zoning Appeals had 4 cases that they heard. Zoning Commission did not meet, and we did not have project plan review. And then on the next page, I have a few items of note. I won't go into those unless you have any questions on any of them. Then that's my report for the month.
The important one on there to me is that AAA building, that's been sitting vacant for quite a while.
Couple of years.
I think I don't know if you know, but Tolson's going in there, he's got 1 anchor client, so I'm really, that's another, Tolson's got all kinds of investments in the community, but I think that's an important one to me, seeing somebody get in that AAA building. Any other questions of Darrell? Okay, Darrell.
Then I have one resolution, 19073. This is the first of our high grass abatements for the year. We have 2 properties, 6800 Kristi Lynne Road and 5026 San Luis Way.
I'll move resolution 19073, authorization of abatement of vegetation and/or debris at 6800 Kristi Lane and 5026 San Luis Way.
Second? Mr. Genowine? Yes. Mr. Mahoney? Yes. Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Thank you, Darrell. Any
Thanks, Darrell.
questions for Darrell? Thank you, Darrell. Next is the road department. Boy, you're bobbing and weaving tonight, Rob.
Good evening. Yes.
Back again, all right.
So you see the monthly report for May. Some of the highlights, we have our sweeper out. We completed our first round of street sweeping. Did some tile repairs in certain areas. We prepared the cemetery for Memorial Day. We did have a windstorm, like a rainstorm, that kind of caused some damage throughout the township. It took us 2 days to clean some of that up. We're continuing our mowing in the right-of-way. And as you know, we've been doing a lot of ditch cleaning and working on some of our drainage throughout the township, so some of that is reflected there along Stewart and Egnan Ditch. Eaglehurst, we cleaned that out again, and I'll show that later on, the picture of that. We did prep for the parking lot. If you haven't seen it, it is complete. The road department service area, they just finished that up today, putting in the stops. Our guys did that. And then in the maintenance department, a lot of routine maintenance, got our lawn equipment ready for the season, and continuing to build one of the new cop cars and all the other routine maintenance there. We did do some training. We had an ODOT class for Concrete 101, and some of the new employees, our new utility worker, and our new service manager, who I was hoping to introduce tonight, if you haven't met him yet. But page 2 on some of the big projects. OPWC project, it is out to bid right now. We'll open bids on the 25th. It's a $1.4 million project. The second project, it's a little smaller, even though it's more miles. It's just less extensive drainage in there. Hopefully we'll get that packet next week, and we can get that out to bid. Some of the other drainage projects down below down there are either complete or in progress. And the road department update in the parking lot, like I said, is complete. That's pretty much for the monthly report, if you have any questions.
Any questions for Rob?
I don't.
Good, Rob. You want to move on to your resolution?
We have a resolution on the agenda. This is Resolution 18070. This is to award bid and enter into contract for the 2019 household pickup. We did have a little bit more success this year in getting more bidders, and we did lower the price about $10 per ton, $15 per ton, somewhere in there, for the new company who is Archibald Refuge Service. They have not performed this service for us yet, but I am living in a community where they do this, and they are very successful, and I'm very satisfied as a patron of their service, and I believe they'll do an outstanding job for us in the township. They are a decent-sized company, so.
I'll offer Resolution 19070 to award and bid and enter into contract the 2019 household pickup.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
I'm wondering, Rob, on that, you just got one bidder, right?
No, we had two bidders this year. I did get some feedback. I reached out to all the vendors, sent them letters and asked them if they weren't going to bid, what it would take to bid on it, how we could change the process. So we have some good ideas from them, splitting the township up into different quadrants and letting the vendors, the smaller vendors, be able to bid on those quadrants independently of each other. So it would be, 4 different bid cycles. It would be, we could do it that way. Or some of them would really like to see it as a long-term, like a 2 to 5 year commitment. That way they can pull the resources, because anytime they take a job on like this, they have to either hire temporary employees or bring on more resources, and this is just prepare them a lot further out to take on this task, because it just would reduce their residential services. So
Well, I'm sure
has
the
to be
board
done.
appreciates
Yeah,
your
good
time.
thinking.
This is the first time the costs have went down, so that's a
very
good
happy
step
with
in the
that.
right direction, so I appreciate your efforts.
The last thing on the agenda I have is just an update that I was asked to provide for the J.Cunningham ditch project. And if you could scroll down, if you would go down to the petition of the Board of Lucas County Commission there. Okay, if you recall, there was a petition we put out. We asked for the county to put this on the petition so we can have the project done, and the stormwater utility would pay for the project. So I'm just kind of giving you a quick rundown of it. If you go to the Ditch Lucas County letter, June 2019, it would be the second one from the top. That one right there, yeah. This is a letter that was sent out to the affected residents of the ditch area, and it's an explanation of what the process was and how it's going to work. And apparently a few of the residents have gotten the letter and was questioned on what's going on. So I was giving you an update on that. So if you haven't seen the letter as the board, this was sent out to, I believe, at least 4 of the residents along the ditch there, explaining it.
And the question we have, I think was that one of the, I think it's somebody that received this letter?
Yeah, there was a gentleman, a resident who had received a letter and sent you an email making sure you were aware of the process and understood what this meant. Again, I reiterate, this is at no cost to the residents along the ditch for the maintenance of it at this time, or for the installation of it. It will put the ditch under petition though, by law. That means that the residents would be responsible for the maintenance of it, but these type of ditches, once the enclosure is done, usually have a 25 to 50 year life span before any maintenance is required on it. And even then, as long as the stormwater utility is in full effect, they will pay for the maintenance of it, because the resident's already paying into that system. If the stormwater utility was dismantled and they would no longer pay, no township residents would pay into it, then that would fall onto the landowners that gain that border that ditch area. This is done throughout mostly, Fulton County. A good portion of their ditches are on the petition. Lucas County is starting to move to this type of procedure, because within the township, unless it's in the right-of-way, all ditches are maintained by Lucas County. They're not maintained by the township, but we don't own the ditches. They're either private or they're maintained by Lucas County. So I don't know if a lot of residents understand that or not, so I just want to make sure that was clear. If you want to go to the picture, would be the Cunningham West, would be the first one. And this is just one example, if you could scroll down a little bit, or blow it up on it. Keep going down till you see the ditch. Can you make it a full screen, Lynne? 'Cause if not, you're going to just be stuck on. You just scroll over so you can see the ditch itself. So without the full screen, that is the, looking at it from the west towards the east. So you're on the west side of Eaglehurst Road, and that is the crossover there that goes underneath the road to the other side of Eaglehurst, which eventually goes through between two properties and out to the state ditch along US 23. That is the type of cleanup we do every time it rains. So, the abutting properties behind this picture, so I'm standing in this picture, so to the west of me, behind me, that is all throughout their yard, and it winds and weaves through the property back there. Good portion of that is due is because the city of Sylvania cleaned their portion, widened it, and they did a fairly pretty good job of being able to control their portion of it from McCord Road up to where it comes into the township. And we are now just trying to catch up to make sure that our portion can handle the amount of water and debris that comes through there as well. So that engineer stake is the center of the pipe that you can't see that is underground. So the water can't drain because of all the sediment that's on the bottom of the ditch, and then if you're on the east side of Eaglehurst Road between the properties, a lot of that is a foot to a foot and a half higher than the flow line should be. So, if you have any questions on it, any further detail, I'll be happy to explain.
Thanks, Rob. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Police Department? Chief?
All right, we'll start with the monthly report there, page 3 and 9, if you would. Just looking at the crime stats there, we usually get a little bit of uptick in the warmer weathers with burglaries. People tend to leave garage doors open. We had 9, up 1 from last year, and of those 9, 3 we've already charged. We've charged suspects in 3 of them, so they were known suspects. And 2 of them, we have a couple commercial B&Es, and we've got those right now. We've got some suspects. Actually, one of them may be tied into with a group working out of Michigan. Michigan State Police have a task force going, and they just actually recovered some of our stolen tools and stuff. So we're hoping to maybe get some people charged and 2 others, and 3 of them are questionable. I'll just leave it at that. Not sure how legit those are. Looking at the one aggravated assault and the one robbery that we had, those were 2 separate incidents, but they were both domestic related, and arrests were made in both of those. So they stemmed from domestic violence issues. So it wasn't like a commercial robbery or anything like that. So that's, we don't like to see them, but it's better than seeing a commercial type robbery. So again, arrests made most of that. Community affairs, they did charge, I know it made some headlines back when it happened last month in that school bus incident. They did get with the prosecutor, and everything was decided, so charges were filed. The case is in court right now. Actually, I think there's a pre-trial on it tomorrow where that individual that evacuated all those kids off the bus out the parent did out of the emergency exit. So there was 1 felony charge filed there for disrupting public service, so that's being addressed. We'll see where that goes, but prosecutor's office is all on board. School board was happy that we were able to take action and do what we did, so that was a good thing. The other one, and again, this has been hitting me the last few months, page 14, I think, I'm on the last page for overtime. Dispatch overtime, we're just getting killed because I've still got 2 people on long-term FMLA leaves. Earlier in the year, we had 3. We actually, right now, are going to look to see about hiring, because one individual it's suspected will not be able to come back from the leave that they're on, so we're going to try and hire another dispatcher. Hopefully the other one by next week will be back, but we're going to start a process to hire the one with the caveat that if, we'll just see where that one goes. We're at least going to start the process, give a test for dispatcher, because it's just when you're 2 down and for a while 3 down, with only 13, it's just overtime is nonstop. So we're trying to do what we can on that one. Unfortunately, with the FMLA issues, they're not gone, so it's tough. You can't just, replace, but we'll see what we can do here. And then the last meeting, that gentleman, Tommy Jones, had showed up for the liquor department hearing, just to let you know, made some phone calls. Mr. Turner and myself both did talk to the state. Mr. Turner got an attorney involved, so now it's John Burrell is handling all that. He did get me an email today. The hearing, the earliest they could schedule, it's scheduled for July 25th. I mean, you're dealing with the state, it is what it is. We can't make them do anything any quicker, so I know you'd asked about it. Actually, from what the guy told me, that's fairly expedited for the way they work, so, I just wanted to get back to you on that issue, on that, so.
Thank you, Chief.
Any other questions on the monthly before I do? We just got one
I
resolution.
did attend your safety study, and we had about 90 kids there, and I bet there were 3 parents and grandparents for each kid. That was a huge...
Yeah, I think we had 150 chairs set up, and then ended up probably had another 75 standing, so they get great support, all the kids do. Yeah, that was well attended.
Please let the sergeant know we appreciate his efforts.
Right. And see, now I'm saving that for my June report. There you go, I just gave you my June, it just happened last week, so. Well, I'll say it now, because I'll say it again in June again. Great thanks, and we did a nice thing in the paper and our Facebook page and stuff. Kistler Ford bought all new of the Ford Mustangs for the class, so we had 8 of those. And Walmart bought all new tricycles for us to use. And even Tim Hortons came and brought donuts every day for the kids, so we sugared them up and sent them home. Parents always love that. But that was just, I wanted to see the support from the businesses and stuff out here. That's great. Okay, any more questions on that before I do the resolution? No. Okay, the resolution was 19071. It's basically just authorizing the police department to add another tow company to the tow list. Still, I'm just getting my ducks in a row here. I think we're going to probably replace one, but I want to have this already in place so we know if we do pull the trigger, we can. We're having some issues with one of them, and we've had another one calling for some time to try to see if they could get on the list, and we've checked them out, and I think we're probably going to do a switch, but I just want to have that option, so that's why this authorization, or this resolution, to authorize it to add a tow provider. We could go with 3 if we wanted, but then none of them get a whole lot of tow, so if we add J&J, there'll probably be one of them that won't be removed, but I don't want to say that yet because we haven't really had a chance to inform them of any specifics yet.
I'll offer resolution 19071 to add a tow provider.
Second? Oh, go ahead, John.
Call roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Crandall.
Yes. Thank you, Chief.
All right, thanks.
Fiscal Officer, Dave?
Well, we have the month-end analysis, and we've had a chance to look at it. I think all of our funds are in really good shape. Our income is actually seemingly running a little bit ahead, and our expenses seem fine to me. There's really nothing much to say about, our income and expenses.
Any questions?
Unless you guys have a question.
I appreciate you getting the numbers out in advance so we can review them, Ron. Thank you.
And I do have one resolution, Resolution 19-071, 072, I'm sorry. It's a Township Appropriation from Unencumbered Balance, and it really has to do with our EMS. We have some computer software that we need to purchase, as well as there is some maintenance and repairs on our vehicles too. So it's not big numbers, but we need to keep ourselves up on our patient protocol care, just to do our best for our citizens in our EMS, and then of course we need to have our equipment well maintained. So that's the point of these 2 things, these expenditures.
I'll offer Resolution 19072, Township Appropriation from Encumbered Balance.
Second?
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next are non-agenda items, and I thank you for your patience. Do you have one speaker? Do you want me to call on everybody that's on the list? Or we're not sure what the issue is, but we've taken care of our regular business.
I can start an item on the agenda.
Sure. Which is your name, sir?
Charlie Swansky.
Hey, Charlie.
Swansky? 6173 Greenacre.
Right,
Go ahead, Charlie.
okay, thanks for hosting this for us. We have been looking at the progression of the condition of those properties right at the end of Greenacre on what would be the south side of Greenacre at Holland, Sylvania. There are two vacant properties there. They have been vacant for quite some time, and the decay of the properties, the progression of the decay has been ongoing for several years now, and they've been in rough condition. Overgrowth, vacant properties. There were two arson fires, as you may know, not too long ago. There have been campers on the property. At one point, the mast to the home that carries the power lines in was on the ground for a few days, and we had to call and just get that taken care of. Those are examples of what's been going on at the end of the street. There was some discussion in the neighborhood about maybe getting together and coming here, and I personally haven't done a lot of research regarding the jurisdictions that may have authority over those properties, or what maybe the solutions might be. But we do know that the township trustees have an interest in that, and what is seen from Holland, Sylvania, which is a pretty high traffic, and it's the gateway to our neighborhood, and it's the first thing that's seen when people are coming to see us. So we're here just to make a request that if there's anything that the trustees can do to put pressure, that the property is currently held with the title agency. And so the assumption is that the developer looking to turn a profit on the property. I think that's what the case has been. I know that there was some rezoning that occurred because there was a developer interested in doing something to the property. So the zoning was approved, but the developer pulled out, and so nothing happened. That was a few years ago, as I understand it. The other point, I guess, is that eventually the homes can't be rehabbed, we don't think. The arson fires are burnt out on the inside. The property values to put residential properties back there is probably not going to be supported. So eventually the properties will have to be cleaned up, either by the developer, which would make it more marketable, or by, the owner, or a developer that would eventually develop the property. So it's going to have to happen at some point. And we'd just like to know if there's a way to get it to happen sooner than later, given the fact that it's been in that condition for many years, and it's prominently seen in the community, and in our community. That's kind of why we're here. And then, I don't know, maybe we can...
Darrell, could you... I think you know the property, don't you? I think I've talked to Darrell about this property. I'm sure the other trustees have also.
Yes, we're aware of it. We can address if there's any high grass issues or debris or anything like that. It's my understanding, and I don't want to misquote the fire department, but that it's structurally sound, those two houses. According to legal counsel, only the health department or the fire department can declare it uninhabitable, and then we can go ahead and have them demolished. But if I'm not mistaken, the last conversation with the fire department was that they were structurally sound, they were boarded up, so that they weren't technically uninhabitable.
Yeah, they sure aren't, I swear.
Charlie, your background's construction, right? What's your thoughts on that property?
Well, I don't think it would collapse based on the appearance of the exterior of the structures. The boarding is not 100%, so I think that the properties could be accessed if some kids or if some vagrant might want to try and take refuge there. So they are a nuisance. They're dangerous, I think. The likelihood of them being rehabbed is pretty remote. That's kind of the concern, is that it's likely never to happen. And if we don't voice our concerns, it's just going to stay in the condition that it's in now. So that's really why we're here. And we're happy to work with fire or the health department to try and get an opinion rendered on whether or not they could be declared suitable for demolition.
The zoning's on that is C2, so they're not gonna be able to put a house back up without just a home, so there's really no value of those houses sitting here. Because I remember Susan, I was on the zoning commission at the time, prior to my tenure up here, was, they were looking at doing a medical building here, right, years ago?
Yeah.
A while ago, so.
And I'm wondering,
The zoning change was based on what was presented. That fell through, and I'm offering a suggestion that when something like that happens, and after so much time, it should revert back to what it was. I mean, it was based on what George Orovitz presented, and that's long gone. So,
well, I'm wondering, I think maybe if you took the buildings down, it would enhance the property, because whoever has
easier to
it.
put in the road too.
Sure.
There's garbage piled up in the back of those homes, big black garbage bags.
We ought to be able to.
We can do that.
I wasn't aware of that, because I've asked Darrell several times. I know we've been out, and it's been boarded up. I'm not sure. Have you looked at it, Chief?
Yeah, unfortunately with us, it's either it's in dilapidated where it needs to be torn down, or it will stand on its own, basically, is that's where we're stuck with.
Well, certainly if there's garbage there, we can get that cleaned up, I think. Can't we, Darrell, with Dean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Can we shake the bushes on this, Darrell, and get back with Charlie or whoever
Darrell, have you been on the site itself?
I haven't, no. I believe our compliance officer was there not too long ago.
That was just, I went a few days after the signs got put out. Yeah.
Well, could,
And it's not just, the whole thing's an eyesore. Couldn't the city buy it and put gravel around our parking area for the bike trail, or something to keep it minimal, just to have it something there, like. This is the gateway to our area, and Mark was trying really hard.
I think all of us.
Yeah,
I don't think you have to explain that.
Yeah, I disagree with you. It needs some help.
And even the rodents in that place, those houses were so bad. We knew the people that lived there 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and they were never well kept, so they were bad before they were big. So I vote, take them down.
I don't think it's deserving of commercial. There's still a 50-foot Edison easement where those towers were. There's a bike trail and that easement, and then there's 50-foot easement that the Edison will never give up.
Oliver and Darrell, could we commit to get back to Charlie, say, in 3 weeks or something? Because certainly if there's garbage, we can get that cleaned up, I'm confident. But maybe we should have the health department check for rats or.
Oh, sure.
See, really, the owner, if he'd take that down, I think it would enhance his property myself. If you look at
But
that.
we don't know who the owner is now.
Well, I think we can find out, I hope. We have a title specialist.
Yeah, I can find out.
There's a property right across the street, right across Green Acre for sale right now, a vacant house that's up for sale. I'm sure that property value is negatively affected by those two sales.
Yeah, I can see that. That really is an eyesore.
And John, I'll have Chief Fairley go over and see if it's gotten worse, maybe we can push something from our end.
Well, if you could, if Oliver could coordinate this, could you be back in 3 weeks? Would that be reasonable, Oliver?
Certainly within 3 weeks, we will follow up to the best of our ability. And if anybody wishes to leave their contact information with us, we can ensure they're part of the conversation.
And Charlie, if you could add your phone number up here before you leave.
Sure.
And we'll be sure to get back to you.
Well, we appreciate it.
Oh,
Everyone.
I don't think you'll get, we know that's an eyesore at least. And I know the trustees have bugged Darrell about it several times.
That's why I'm surprised he's never been on the property.
Is there a length of time, would it stay there indefinitely?
Well, let's see what we can do. Certainly if it's a hazard, And I think if the health department's concerned, I think,
And we do have some special needs children at that end of the road, that not only the normal children like to investigate, but kind of the bike trail, oh yeah, I want to the bike trail.
we had,
We're opening up a whole...
we had a situation a few years ago where we just sent the owner a letter and said, we're concerned about your liability, and holy cow, he took care of it.
That's a start.
Not sure we had any teeth in that letter, but we can certainly try to do something. Well, I know all three trustees, we all can envision what you're talking about.
Thank you for everybody
Thank
for
you.
coming too, for
Everybody.
God's sake.
And I appreciate you doing one spokesman. We get the picture, you know, we don't have to have 20 people knock us over the head. Thank you, Charlie, for taking the lead on this.
We appreciate anything that can be done.
And did we set a time limit to get back? Is 3 weeks all right, Oliver?
Most certainly, we will do everything we
Okay,
can and
be 3
follow up
weeks or
within 3
less.
weeks.
We'll give you a call back to see what we can do.
Thank you.
And I'm sure Darrell will have his compliance. That's a new position we've added, part-time. We have somebody that travels the township and looks for,
That's Darrell.
no, that's Darrell, but Darrell has a fellow that travels the township. Is it 2.5 days a week, Darrell? His schedule, or 3?
It's 20 hours over 3 days,
Yeah.
and
so-
8s and 6s.
Yeah, so when you have a complaint, we have somebody to go out and take a look at it. And he seems to be very effective with the owners, just sometimes showing up and saying, this doesn't look good to us. It helps everybody's property values, and we get that. Anything else, Charlie?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you all for coming. Next, I'll move that we go into executive session at... Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss... Oh, Chief, I'm sorry. Monthly report from the fire department. I'm sorry.
Sounds like it could be a brief monthly report.
Yes, I can make it brief if you'd like.
I'm sorry.
Actually, I have to apologize for this month's monthly report. We lost one of our administrative assistants, and I put this month's monthly report together. I got as much of it in there as I could get. I had a hard time with some of the pictures, so if they're crooked, it's on me. But actually, the picture on the front was the gentleman that we presented their plaques to last month. Were almost 90 years of service between the three guys here at the township. But I do want to start out with saying that tomorrow's a pretty special day for us. It's our pancake breakfast. It starts at 6 o'clock and goes to 11 at the Elks Lodge. So I'd love to see everybody there if possible. So now with a little bit of sorrow, today in history, on June 18th of 2007, we lost 9 firefighters in Charleston, South Carolina. It was the super surface throw fire. I'm actually friends with the gentleman that was on engine 10 that day, and he was operating the engine that 2 gentlemen passed away on. He was unable to get them water that day. It was the first day he'd ever operated that engine. So what he has proposed is that all fire services departments in the area and all over the country do a whole day of training. Our guys were out at 7 this morning, and I think they're going back out again this evening. It's in honor of those 9 guys. That gentleman will tell you to your face that he felt he was a very lazy fireman. He didn't train much. So today was a day to make sure everybody was out doing what they needed to make sure everyone's safe in our area. So I applaud my guys for not bucking me from saying, please get out there all day. So, and they were. So, May anniversaries, we had quite a few. May was a big hire month. You'll see that. That's on the next one. I think I got those pictures straight, I hope. Next page, Imran, it would be our number of incidents. I am working with Janet to advertise for our full-time administrative assistant that we lost, so I just want to keep you posted. We're right
right now getting quotes on where to advertise and for how long and those type of things, so I did want to bring that up. What you'll notice in 2018, we had from 2018 to 2019 in total transports, again, from 72 to 203, so a huge jump there. The other one that really stands out to me, the one that I try to incorporate every month, is if you'll see on the bottom where we have our overlapping incidents. Again, we went from 46.9% of the time we caught one incident up to 56% of the time we catch one, we're catching a slip or getting a second incident at the same time. So I'm really keeping a close eye on that. The mutual aid, auto aid and stuff is working. However, we can't always count on them to always be there, and we have been going over to Springfield and Richfield a little more because everybody's getting busier. I do have one other bad thing to say is our brand-new ladder truck unfortunately had an accident the other day. Even with a backer, they backed into a building. I know they weren't very happy to see me pull up when I pulled up, so unfortunately that's going back to the factory tomorrow morning to get evaluated on what it's going to cost to fix that. Next is our transports again. Like I just said, they're up quite a bit, so you can see those. Community risk reduction, Chief Freilich and Firefighter Hillig were pretty busy again last month. The bottom of page 5, Enron, is one of those feel-good stories. The guys rescued a bunch of ducklings out of the sewer grate, so they got a little bit of a picture out there, but our guys really do like doing those kind of things. So next one would be our training. Again, we've been spending a lot of time at the two houses on King Road that Mercy donated to us to utilize. We also had a building on Wilford that Westgate Chapel donated. However, we were told we would have that house all month. They called us like last Tuesday and said they're tearing it down on Friday. So we went over and did a lot of roof type stuff because they were going to tear the house down. So we were able to actually get some of our younger guys on roofs with saws and actually get their hands on. So, and then the last page is the overtime, and I'm in the same kind of boat that Chief Long is. I've had several long-term FMLAs that's really kind of increasing my staffing. So again, that's those ones that we can't predict when people are having babies and those type of things. So, and that's all I have, gentlemen.
Any questions for the chief?
Chief, I've asked you a couple times, what's the status, what kind of numbers are you putting together for the assisted living houses we got together?
Well, we are seeing a huge increase, John. I have Chief Freilich putting the exact numbers for each individual place. I don't have it in my hand tonight, but I will have it for you. Yeah,
I was going through my notes.
Yep.
And here in 2014, I got Chief Freilich saying these assisted livings weren't impacting our community one bit.
Oh.
And as we try to go through and look at JEDs and other sources of income, I mean, certainly knowing how much you guys need for this, it's going to be paramount to us getting a good handle on what we can expect when one of these enters our community.
Yes, sir.
Certainly, I don't know how in the world back in 2014 that Mr. Freilich would have stood up here and told us these things had no impact on the fire department, because I think that is attributing to back-to-back runs, it's attributing to your 20% increase in expenses over last year for this year. We've got to do something, and we've got to know before we allow them to build in our community what their impact is going to be on the residents. I know your money's going to be out here very shortly, and I would hate to go back to the residents and tell them that, you need more money because we didn't
do our due diligence. Yes, sir.
So I would like something at our next meeting to at least start, and then we can figure out what additional information we need to go from there.
Absolutely, and I have a new plan of how we should be responding to some of that also.
Okay.
I've been working on it.
I'm wondering, Chief,
Yes, sir.
if you could get back to Oliver, and if Oliver could send us a note.
Absolutely.
Because John's right, this has been a while. Let's set a reasonable date and have you.
Sure, and I can't speak for Chief Freilich, that was his
For your
words.
chief,
Yeah,
and
so
both Freilich and Kowalski that these things aren't gonna have an impact on our community, and I think, 5 years later, they were dead wrong. So we've gotta have some better information than what's currently out to the public.
Absolutely. I'll have them for the next meeting.
Well, let Oliver know and let us
Yes, sir.
know. We can,
I'll work with him.
I don't want to rush it, and then,
Oh, no.
it's been going on for a while, and we do need those numbers.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Now I can move into executive session at 5:50.
Second, or to discuss? John?
To discuss union negotiations, upcoming union negotiations for all departments.
Second.
Okay, and Mr. Genoway?
Yeah.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for coming. 56.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
No action taken?
No action taken.
Yes.
Yes. And Mr. Crandall?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, we're adjourned.
Well, no.
Oh, we gotta make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Can't I just roll on that? No. Just walk out. Yeah, just walk out. I'll make a motion we adjourn at 6:57.
Second?
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.